everyone. I welcome you so specially to another edition of Through It All We Call Olubodi. How are you? Are you coping with the way, most especially like most of us in Nigeria, are you coping with the way things are? Please, like I always say, don't grumble, don't complain. Like the way the children of Israel did when they were in the wilderness. In all things, just keep thanking God. Just keep thanking God. And keep thanking and hold on to Him. The Lord will not forsake you, and He will not beg for bread. But even now, in the midst of all this famine and hard times that we are going through in this nation, the Lord will keep lifting your head up even now. You know, it was in the midst of famine when everybody was running away to Egypt that the Lord told Isaac, He said, stay in Gerar, don't go anywhere. And the Lord promised him, I'm going to be with you. And in that same year, Isaac sowed in the land and he made 100-fold returns, you know. So please don't look at the weather, don't observe the environment, look up unto God. There's a time that Psalm 121 should be very relevant in our lives. I will look up unto the hills from where cometh my help. Don't let your help come from whether the government, from people that you're already looking up and say, this person will help me. Please look up unto God, the one that made the heavens and the earth. It will not make your food to sleep. It will be there for you. You will not sleep. You will not slumber because of your matter. All right. Okay, so if this is your first time on Through It All, welcome. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do it now. Through It All is all about encouragement. It's all about giving people hope. It's all about letting you know that no matter what you are going through now, that is not the end. Some people also have gone through them. Now they are sharing their testimonies. A day is coming, and it's not far from today. You also shall stand to share the testimony of how you overcame, how God actually took you from very deep, horrible pits and took you all the way to the top. It will be your portion in the name of the Lord Jesus. The name of this program was the right from my book, Through It All, the memoir of my many trials and triumphs. In the book, I shared the story of my life. I shared all the challenges I've been through in life, disability, rejections, trying to compare yourself with others, even struggling with things that doesn't have to do with disability. Like I later shared in this, I will later share in this video how I sat down in the wrong science class when I knew I was not good enough for the sciences, you know. I mean, a lot of things were just happening in my life. And by His grace, I'm who I am today. So if you are going through challenges, troubles, you know, and you need encouragement, you need to read Through It All. So go on Seller, search for Through It All by Kolo Olubodi, go on Amazon, and then go on tia.com.ng. TIA is Through It All, tia.com.ng. Download the soft copy, and you can always order for the hard copy. Is that okay? All right, viewers, like we normally do, now we go into the interview session of Through It All. And my guest today is somebody that I've known for a very long time, but I've known him for a very long time on LinkedIn. I've always admired him on LinkedIn. I've always checked him out on LinkedIn until we had a program in BCI, and we were talking about top human resources people in Nigeria. And I said, we need to talk to Professor Adedipe. And then I never knew that he too has really been doing background check on me at the background. All right. So with the joy of the Lord, I welcome to the spring Professor Ademola Adedipe. Prof, good day to you. How are you today, sir?
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to always connect. And BCI, Dr. Lubodikola, and it's always a pleasure. So I'm doing great. And you too? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. Yes, of course, the way I always like doing it is I want my guests to actually properly introduce themselves. You know yourself more than me. So, all right. So let the people meet you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm Ademola Adedipe, as you have rightly, announced. I have a background in human resource management and organizational development. Aside, in fact, I'm multifaceted. I could say I'm multivocational.
That's
Aside
good.
the professional dimension, I also have a dimension within the Christian ministerial circle. Aside that, I do some consulting and quite very robust. I'm a faculty at some international body, and right now I'm based in Lagos, but I'm connected to the whole globe in one way or the other. And I've always provided, source for a lot of body professional bodies, religious bodies. Some of them are institutions that are academic and quite across the board. I'm married. As let me just say that it's very, very important. See our children. Adult and the baby of the house is almost becoming an adult. He's almost hitting his 18th, birthday very, very soon now. So, in a nutshell, that's basically me. I've worked across industries, manufacturing. I've worked in the aviation. I've worked in, in dimensions where the airline industry within aviation. I've worked with the handlers in the handling section of the aviation, and I provided quite a very robust. I'm an author. I've written, authored a few books, and I enjoy research and writing a lot, a lot.
Wow. Yes, you will tell us more about the sojournism.
Sojunuism. Sojunuism.
Sojournism.
Sojunuism.
Yes, you will tell us about it
Yes.
later. Yes, I mean, when we got talking at the time, you told me that it was like ELC that you first got to know me or something.
It
All right.
was. And
And
that's
then
quite interestingly, I think we've crossed paths in a few editions, but I can't I tried, try to recall which of the editions we actually met first. But beyond the Excellence in Leadership Conference with Dr. Sam Adeyemi, in fact, the one I could remember was quite very mind blowing. And you spoke at that. In fact, it was really, really a blessed session. I was really like, wow, 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 this is great. Then beyond ELC also, we've also connected severally at the Lagos State and Security Trust Fund platform, if you recall.
okay.
We've met at that platform, hosted by the Lagos State Executive Governor of the state, and it's been wonderful. And I think while I was head of HR and OD for NACO, we've also crossed paths some years, when it came to background check stuff like that. So in one professionally and even in ministry dimension, we had to cross paths at one level or the other. Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, it's always a small world, and
Yes.
the way God just always arrange it that His own children we always meet one way or the other. All right. So I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing how people got to be who they are today. And people always we see Professor Demola Adedipe and say, God has helped him. But then the way God helped him to get here, they never knew how the journey was. All right. So I would really love to know how God has really been faithful to you. Depends on how far back you want to go. I mean, but then, I mean, like I say, I mean, on the program, we are here to encourage others. We are here to give others hope. Many, maybe they are where you were some 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. That's where they are today. And they just feel like, oh, this is the end of the world for them, not knowing that some other people also have been through such situations, but today they are who they are. All right. So I would love to hear your story. I will keep interjecting from time to time, but you can go ahead.
You are very welcome to interject, no problem. You are my host. All right. For this, I love a very strong point you hit. It struck a very deep chord. A lot of people they enjoy who they see now, but they don't know the process that the person has gone through. They don't know the interactions, they don't know the engagement, the low periods where it's almost like giving up, and you're wondering, am I sure something is not wrong with me? A lot of and when such questions begin to prop up like that, then they are defining moments, especially when you get the answer and you get the light. Because the light is illumination showing you exactly, because when light steps in, darkness moves back. So
That's
in a
true.
lot of situations where we've had to be in the dark end of life, we've seen the light of God. For me, I will always cross. I so much, I pattern maybe by way of mentoring. I had a direct mentorship with the late Dr. Miles Monroe, then with Dr. Maxwell also, and I've always loved the way they mixed the consciousness of God with the professional dimension. And I've patterned myself over the years with that. I will never speak at any podium without having to let it be clear that without a God dimension, I will not be who I am today. That's the baseline for me. And fortunately, I come from, I'm a third generation, clergy, my granddad, my dad now, and myself. And I'm extending that consciousness of God to my family, my children, and also. So when I look back, I I know there are prayers and things that have been soaked into my upbringing, even right from infancy. I got the honor of being led to Christ at an early age. I got to have a personal. In fact, when I tried to joke about this, that the very first time I gave my life to Christ, before I took it back, and I'll give it back later. It's quite very interesting. It was in September 1986 at the program. I still remember quite well. The person that spoke is an octogenarian today. Is a bishop. The message broke me down and said, God, it's not just enough being a pastor's kid. I need to have my own personal encounter with Christ. So this led me, and ever since I made up my mind that let me take up that stand and be firm, God has really, really helped me.
So,
And
what's the name of the bishop again?
the bishop, his name is Bishop Fadi Samuel, Bishop Doctor. He was working with the Research and Development Center at Yaba years ago. And he's an alumnus of University of Lagos also. And
Oh, okay.
he's still very active. He's an octogenarian. He's still very active. So I cannot forget that encounter. It was at Mushi, particularly at Igbo. I cannot forget because it was a very tangible experience for me. So and ever since then, I know every step I've taken so far, the dimension of divine guidance and directioning has always been there for me. I've had seniors and mentors, people that have coached me, that have led me. I've listened to a lot and a lot. People that mixed the ministry with professional life, balanced it properly to taught. I've had the privilege of having to sit with them, and they've guided me over time. And God has really helped me to get to where I am today. So that is the major thing. I need to lay this down first. Without God, I would not be who I am, and I would not be where I am today.
All right. So let's go back to Genesis of Ademola Adedipe, and then we bring it all the way to Revelation. What was your Genesis when you were young?
Okay. Well, I was born in Mushi, but as people say, when you hear Omo Mushi, no, 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 no. Born in Mushi, there's a spirit of Mushi. I do not have that spirit of Mushi working in me, and God has helped me so far. Went to school, Mushi. My primary school was there. My secondary school was there. I've been in Lagos all my life, basically, in terms of education.
Wow.
My degrees have been in Lagos, University of Lagos, besides. And aside the time I went for my youth service in River State, Port Harcourt, every other thing I've done basically has been. So I'm both Omo Eko or Araiko, as some people will want to call it. So I will call myself both ends. So because I've had to eat, drink Lagos water all through. And growing up, I've been exposed to a lot of scenarios and people, peer relationships that could have, you know, turned my direction in the wrong way, seriously in the wrong way. I've had to look at people, bright hopes, they become destroyed because something went wrong, either drug addiction or they were engaged with some vices, and they want to live up to the expectation that Almo Mushin, the kind of show. At the end of the day, they took the wrong turn, and
Mm.
some of them never recovered till we speak today, as we speak today. But I'm grateful to God because He did not just. I'm not just from a clergy home where the Word of God has been my foundation from the very beginning, but I also took a part. Like the Yoruba did that say, "Tomba konyo yoma tunra eko."
Yeah.
When you are led as a person, you also put yourself in line to receive the proper tutelage. And I think it's just been God's design for me. And He has led me in my University of Lagos State during my first degree, my master's there. A lot of exposures, the possibilities of just, interestingly, at a point in time, I never knew that some of my classmates were even in the dark side of society on the campus until one year when Operation Sweep came and swept all of them, and they were asking me, "Okay, they call you bishop on campus. Bishop of where? Bishop of? Are you the bishop of Dark Egbe?" I said, "No, I'm a pastor on campus, and I've gone through a lot, and I know this through it all really speaks to me. Times where I'm about to look, and I look at myself and say, wow, it's not that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I had a lot of privileges. But even at that, I've had to also go through some routes that I knew that without God, I would have been lost. I would have been lost. But I thank God where I am today. So that's a bit of to touch it, maybe the appetizer section of who are the Bolani. So,
All right. I mean, so have there been some very peculiar challenges that you've been through in life that you can really still remember till date? I would want you to tell me as many of them as you can remember.
okay. Like I said, I'm privileged and I thank God for the route that I've taken, but I've had to actually be one of the major ones that I had then was basically the switch from my science line. It was purely academic. Let me just say this. The switch from science, because when I got into Unilag at first, I I listed for applied physics, electronics. But along the line, some things happened. I just discovered that I was not, I couldn't concentrate as much as I was a very bright science student. I'm still very science inclined, but I had to make that shift. And when I had to make that shift, it was not easy at all. Somebody signing up for a 4-year course. I ended up spending 7 years for my undergraduate studies. It was quite very challenging for me, very challenging for me. And I would always come back home over the weekend. I would, people kept looking that, when will he come out? When will he graduate from school? The son of a reverend, the son of this, Ogao, people I could literally hear people talking on the sides. That maybe if somebody has the day that he gets into school, he will have the day he's going to graduate. Now, is he not graduating? Something is he not telling us something? So that was very pressuring. It was very pressuring. Yet I was very, very committed with my services as a worker, as a music department person, as a youth leader. I was very committed on fellowship on campus. I was not waning in my responsibility. As despite all this, I could see people look at me like, okay, he's serving God. He's very faithful in his services. But what's happening with his education? Then it was really, really, really tough. I was getting to a state of discouragement, almost getting to a state of despair. I was tired. I was like, God, when will I rap? When will let me get that? I don't want to be like Baluba. Because if you are used to University of Lagos, there's the Mare Hall, call it Baluba Kingdom, because the guy spent 14 years in study. So they call Mare Hall Baluba Kingdom. I said, I don't want to be another Baluba God. I know I'm going to get out of school. And the way God just worked it out for me, my transition from applied physical electronics, having to do courses under Professor Rogba, Aderogba, engineering analysis. I did a lot of electrical courses. I did a lot of, electronics courses, but I had to shelve them and now move into human resource management. I never knew that was part of the directioning of God. I never knew that God had a plan for me in human capital development and management. It was God ordering me, and I really felt I was almost like, my God, I was almost at the point of getting so discouraged that it was really destroying my psyche. I will be playing the keyboard in church, and my mind will have traveled. My mind will have traveled. But today now, I now see that the hand of God was actually in my migration from that science to human resource management. Wow. So, a major challenge. This is one that was academic.
Maybe, I mean, since you are talking about that, before we leave and move to something else, I know there are some students that presently maybe going through the things you have suffered in the past. I used to tell people right from secondary school, I sat down in the science class, not understanding chemistry fully, struggling with the calculation part of physics, Yet I sat down there and I knew I was actually, if I'd gone to the art class where I think I do more of artwork now, maybe I would have actually really gone so far. But I sat down because I felt it's much more prestigious to tell people you are doing physics, chemistry, art, maths.
Biology.
And even in my first JAMB, I said I was going to do medicine, and I failed very woefully. My first WAEC, I failed very woefully because I was doing what I could understand it, but that was not how God has called me out to do. So today I'm far from physics, chemistry, biology. So I really want you to use your experience, number one, to encourage maybe somebody still in school, 5 years, 6, 7 years, and wondering what is happening to me. And then, of course, the younger ones that, that don't still know they are less from their light, and they don't even know how to make career choices or subject choices.
If I'm to wade in on this, I would strongly advise that do not be overly weighed down by the expectations of your immediate environment. A lot of expectations come from family background. I had an experience with someone that always wanted a daughter to be a medical doctor. But the young lady then, I think she's in her 40s now, the young lady then was very comfortable with arts, subjects. And the man kept on saying, my daughter I want to become Baba doctor. I want to become Baba doctor. At the end of the day, I had to, I said, Daddy, come. If God is putting your daughter's head in art or commercial, as the case may be, maybe that's the direction that she's going to get the glory that will really bring your family out. So that is a major issue. Some people have been so much, pressed down into, by, expectations of family, of the society, of friends. Maybe, my friend, we're in school together, is going for engineering, I have to go for engineering also. What are you fitted for? And that's why the area of career guidance and counseling is very, very important for me now. You try to let people understand that you need guidance in even you selecting your career path. It's very, very important. At the end of the day, I have seen people from school then that read architecture, but today now they are doing something that is totally away from architecture. And I'm wondering, could you not have just gone straight into it? But they were trying to fulfill, satisfy maybe daddy's expectation or mommy's expectation, or my uncle was a lawyer, I have to be a lawyer also. So I will advise them, don't give up. But I keep thanking God for my life, because I would say God really, gave me that blessing of finding me out on time. I was able to make up my mind on time. After spending 3 years in physics, I was actually going to final year. And I said, come, Ademola, this is not working. You need to sit down. So I went, I spoke with one of my, he's actually late now, one of my school fathers, Professor J.E.T. Ojo of Finance in Unilag. And I spoke with Professor Fajano also, Shola Fajano. I said, well, you are my fathers in this school, you are both a kitty like me. Yes, sir, what do I do? And they advised me, and they said, okay, if that's the case, can you pick up a form, do a faculty change, and they guided me properly. I was able to fit into the faculty where Professor, then it was Dr. Shola Fajano, it's now Professor, former VC of JABU and things like that. So, and I was guided. I did not have to wait and say, no, let me struggle. At times, in fact, areas where we struggle is an indication that something needs to be adjusted somehow. And on time too, because if you don't do the adjustment on time, you get to the point where depression will start setting in, and you start feeling that you are not capable, you start feeling that you are not up to the task, and you start feeling that you are a reject. In fact, once you have the understanding that maybe you are a reject, and you dejection will start coming down, before you know it now, suicidal tendencies. So I will advise the younger folk, don't let it take too long. Seek for advice, professional counseling. Go for your career guidance. Be properly. There's no point. I have seen a lady that, because she was trying to get into law, she did JAMB 6 times. Wow. Eventually, she ended up not getting law. But that time, 6 years, but she now got into the school in the 7th year after her post-secondary era. And I try to imagine if she had just gone into where, this, and she eventually now got into a subject that today now she's working as an international diplomat, because she did international diplomacy and, I think modern European language or something like that. And then it was like, I have to get law. So at times, some of these, I have to. You don't have to. Know what works for you. Know where there's an innate passion that drives us. But you have to be properly guided. So that's the advice I would give to, especially the younger ones that are coming up. Now. So.
Wow. So, from someone that struggled in school for 7 years to now becoming a professor today, there seems to be a parable in that thing. Do you want to talk about it?
Wow, interesting. I think just like I earlier mentioned, you discover that when you are on the right track, you gain speed, you gain traction. And at times, some of us think, it has to be long. So there's a favor that comes on you, especially when you are on the right track, doing the right things with the right people, and you have good mentors, people that are ahead of you, that are ready to walk you through that path. I have seen in University of Lagos, back then, a particular lecturer, he taught some people at 100 level. And one of the students that he taught at 100 level ended up becoming a full professor in Unilag while he was still a master's student. He was still doing his PhD. It depends on the field that he chose. And we were like feeling for the man that, how can somebody that was your student is now your guy? And they were both in the mathematics department then before I switched from sciences. So when I look at this, there are times the track you choose matters a lot. Imagine someone playing maybe that is naturally left-footed and you put him on the right. The person will struggle because he's on the right, arm of the field. But if you put a left-footed person on the left side of the field and is able to move naturally, the frequency is working for him, the waves is working for him, the wind is working for him, sincerely, you will gain momentum and you gain acceleration. And I think that's what happened in my case. I got some very serious divine acceleration that really propelled me. And by the time I was in a master's program, people that have even gone ahead of me, I became at par with them. And I started gaining professional certification, getting fellowship at certain levels, getting some international exposures, putting up things. And I got serious speed. And I know that speed is just God. I do not lay claim to anything that maybe something that I did more than somebody. It was just divine speed.
Wow. So that means, it's never over. Even when people think it's over, it's never over.
It's never over.
Until we decide to say, okay, I quit.
Yes, except you now say it's over.
And then, of course, we should never write anybody off in life.
At all.
Wow. Wow. All right. So, yes, let's move to the next the next obstacle. You were going to tell, you were saying that is in the front burner. So what is that?
That one is in the front burner. That's the professional side of me. I've had some very interesting experiences. The day I tell you this quite often, that the day you decide to stand for the truth, some people also try this. From that day, they sign up against you. The day you decide to do the right things, people register. In fact, that list is very long because it is natural and it is the norm within organizations to try and bend, to try and do underhand practices, to try and do sharp practice, to try and gain advantage at the expense of the organization, at the expense of people. You try to crush people to rise. And when you stand against such professionally, you are signing up against a very, in fact, some principalities that are very strong.
That's true.
I will use also I've worked. I've always had to swim against very strong tide. Very, very strong tide. You talk of manufacturing, people try to cut corners. You talk of the aviation industry, there's so much money flying in the aviation industry, and people try to do a lot of stuff. So when you put your feet on the ground and say, no, I have to, at a point, I was moved from my position to another section that I was not really professionally qualified for, just because I stood my ground on certain things. And at the end of that did the movement, felt that, okay, maybe when it's now in a place where it's not professionally qualified for, it would get an exit from this place just because I asked a simple question, justification for an action. And it looked to the person that I was challenging him because he was a superior. I said, sir, I'm professionally certified. If I need to take a particular action, I will listen to your directive, but I will need justification so that by the time I'm building the documentation, it will be documented there for anybody to come and see, maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years or whatever, that, okay, the action that so-so person took so-so year against so-so person was actually justified. I said, so it's normal. It's just our practice in HR. But the person felt that I was challenging and I did not find it funny at all. I did not find it funny at all. At the end of the day, you know what God did? Because I will always put the God dimension. They feel that I was pushed to go and help because I was not professionally qualified. Eventually, I got the certification. I still hold that certification till date. I got that certification, which was an international certification, certifying me qualified to work in that place. I sat for the exam. And the instructor that came from Switzerland was one, but man, I was told you were the head of HR in this place. Were you doing this other, I said, no, this is the first time I'll be sitting for such, an exam. And the guy was like, wow, this is really, really something that one should take note. So the way it was a challenge for me. I decided to stand for the truth and justice. And some people felt uncomfortable about it. So it was not funny until today it still happens. In fact, period, this sojournism concept came to me. You will see the truth, but you deliberately throw your face off. I cannot deliberately throw my face off. I will still mention it. If you now say, no, that's not how you want to do it, I don't have a problem with that. But my conscience has been cleared. I am clear in my mind that I did not see the truth and I threw my face in. So it's a major challenge. A major challenge that I have to go through. It cost me a lot too, because eventually I left that organization.
Wow.
It took me some time before I could get integrated back into an organizational setting. But I knew that I had to stand for what is right.
Wow. And many are the afflictions of the righteous.
Seriously.
But the Lord delivers him from them all.
All. And today the records are still there that God used me to set.
Hallelujah. It's always so amazing in life when you think, now this battle is over, and you think you should relax. You don't know that another one is just waiting for you.
Very well.
Wow. All right. So maybe you want to counsel some professionals listening to that, facing a lot of challenges in their places of work. The whole environment is toxic. What would you counsel them to do?
My simple counsel, it has been so, and it will always be so, is that stand for what is right. I know when you are addressing a superior, there are frameworks within the organization, high and mighty in the system. It may be if I'm swimming against a very strong tide current, is not easy at all. I've had to do it severally, and I know it's not very easy at all. But what I will advise, don't let go of your values. He may not speak there. In fact, that's what I advise you. I say, come. God says you are going to reap what you sow, not necessarily where you sow. That's what I tell you. So at times, there are some seeds that you plant, some seeds of righteousness, some seed, and because of the toxic environment, you are flushed out. Don't disturb yourself. The word of God is you will reap what you sow, not necessarily where you sow. Maybe you're lost, seemingly, let me put the quote. You're seemingly, you lost a lot, but there is another place that I know you will still get it. The law of nature, you cannot just beat this. You will gain that good somewhere, somehow. Somebody will give you, no. If you are looking for somebody that will be upright, somebody that will stand for the truth, somebody, please, I recommend this to somebody. I've been a beneficiary of this. Even though I was out of the organization, I was out of the system, but somebody still stood and come. If you are looking for someone that will do the right thing, if you are looking for someone that will be genuine, will be real with you, we'll call one, we'll not call 110 or call 100. Demola is the guy you should get. I've been a beneficiary of this. So I will advise, don't just give up. Don't lose hope. It may be toxic today, but sincerely, there's an environment that will need your type of uprightness. It will come. It will not be easy. I will let you know this, but it will definitely come.
All right. So those that always believe that if you can't beat them, join them. This does not work in Christianity.
No.
If you can't beat them, please create your own standard. And with time, those that you can't beat and those that are joining them reluctantly will begin to decamp and come to the right side. Sincerely, that's what some of us have done in places where we have worked. And I remember I used to tell people that my destiny is not in anybody's hands. You know, when your bosses are talking to
Very,
you, say they are your Lord and your Maker. So
eh,
my destiny is not in anybody's hands. Anything I'm going to do, I
very,
walk as unto the Lord. I'm not trying to please
mm,
man. I do it.
mm,
I walk even when you are not going to pay me. I will yet walk because I'm walking as unto the Lord, not because I want anyone
yes.
to say, well done. I would prefer God to be telling me, well done. All right. I'm saying this because I'm talking to an HR expert, so I don't want that to escape in,
Very well. Very well. Very well.
in our discussions. All right.
Mm,
So you moved from that particular place, and how did God started doing it from there? Because I know many will think that things will go down for you, living in a place where you think is toxic, and yet you have greater standards there. How has God really done it for you after leaving that place? That's what I mean.
yes, I understand. I understand quite. For me, the initial shock, before I talk of what God did, the initial shock was how do I now meet up? Children in school, a lot of expenses, things to service, family to maintain. I was also leading a congregation, a lot of stuff like that. So it was really, really tough. But God made a way through a friend that actually met them to just bridge that gap in between somewhere. And he just said, come, Demola, he's UK based and he's also an HR person. He said, I have a project too. And can you just stand in as the lead consultant for me? And I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? And there was just an arrangement that led me in fact, consulting. It was a federal government project, and I had to move out of Lagos for several months to go and lead the project with a federal, organization which was in the energy sector. And I'm like, okay, somebody felt, like the saying from the elders and Yoruba that if somebody is packing, a mat from under where you are sleeping, God is making provision for mattress for you. It was a very good cushion that I got. And from there, something else came up, and that thing came up, and that thing came up. And as I was doing this, I've still not lost my academic line because I kept on facilitating, teaching, providing support, for some institutes, CIPM inclusive, some other professional institutes, speaking at conferences, seminar, my research work. Even though I no longer sit, as it were, in pure ivory tower, sitting now. But I still maintain, I have never and I've still not stopped. I'm still very, very inclined to that claim. So it was not a very easy, thing at first, but God led people to actually hold my hand when it was very weak. So that's why I would just personal experience. Verifiable because the person he still chatted yesterday. He's a scrum master in the UK. He's a scrum master in the UK.
Wow. One of the scriptures I always love most is that Romans 8:28 that says,
Mm,
and we know that all things work
all things
together
work.
for good
Yes.
to them that love God and are called according to his purpose. I mean, what I always emphasize most is that, and we know.
And we know.
The
Yes.
Lord expect us to know. We
Yes.
will be rest assured and confident of the fact that
Mm,
when things go wrong, the
mm,
Lord will use that thing we will just make everything work together for good.
yes.
And then
You cannot be out in the cold. That's it. Mm, yes.
God will always have your back. All right. So you need to trust him more. If somebody is out there listening to us and your trust in God is shaky, please
Mm,
trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your
Yes.
own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge God.
Acknowledge him. Oh.
It's your path. And please don't put your trust in man.
That's a major one you said, though. Mm.
Don't put your trust in man. Put your trust in God. Bible
Yes.
says, men that today they are there, they are not there tomorrow. Don't put
Yes.
your trust in them. All right. Okay. All right. So, Prof, we need to move on. I just feel like hearing you just talk about those challenges because I know the journey has not really been smooth. So let's move to the third one.
Every human has multiple dimensions. A lot of times you could have, the community life, we have professional life, we have a spiritual life. Some people may call it religious, but for me, it's not religious life. It's a spiritual life. The dimension of a challenge that I have seen. In fact, this comes across that you labor over and you give every fiber of yourself, you pour yourself out to them. And some of them at the end, they backstab you. I've had a lot of all those challenges. People that because they are trying to climb the ladder, they go behind, they do character assassination, they try to damage your integrity, and they try to do a lot of things, cast some doubt on your credibility. But through it all, I say that with full confidence, God has been faithful, defending me where I could not even defend myself, where I was not called up to speak, even to say, okay, Mr. Adedepe, come, or whatever, Demola, come. So happened. Can you defend yourself? Even where opportunity to defend myself was denied, God has raised men and women for me to defend me where I could not stand. And today, in fact, that's it's really very heartbreaking for me when you pour out yourself to people and you give them all you feel that will help them. For me, true leadership is not just trumpeting about yourself. It's actually empowering others. When you empower them, and after empowering them, and you give them all the necessary support, you sign them up for professional, affiliations. You network them, you introduce them to people just for them to rise, and they go Mark Antony and Brutus approach of backstabbing Julius Caesar. And I feel, wow, how can you do this, man? But some of them feel, well, they didn't have any choice. Maybe they were also being orchestrated. So that has been a challenge that I've gone through. Professional backstab. Some of them I still try to maintain relationship with them, but the bad and the evil they have done, they don't have that courage. And they say, come, apart from being a professional, I'm a child of God. I hold no grudge, even though it was painful. But I hold right, do it right, and let's move on. That's a dimension that I needed to mention, because I know a lot of people are going through backstab, betrayals, and they are wondering what's going on. This is my padina. This is somebody that is supposed to know me now. Why should my own personal person be the one that is backstabbing me? Who else will backstab you if not someone that has known you inside out and know exactly? Was it not Judas that betrayed Jesus Christ? Julius Caesar was betrayed by his own very, Brutus, Mark Antony, his own people that he has already he expects them to understand, but they were the ones that betrayed him. So,
all right. You'd see that Professor Adedepe is so passionate, talking so much from the professional angle, because that's what he's done most of his life. And some of the challenges he had seen actually has always come from that point. And I hope those that are also professionals watching this, you will know that whatever you have been experiencing at your place of work or your partnership, doing business with somebody or something, is not peculiar to you alone. It's common to man, like the Bible says. All right. So, Prof, yes, I know there's one more thing that you want to add to everything before we call it a day to day.
Yes, I think this one is actually on my own self, because one thing I've observed also constantly is that when you know a lot, I've come to that point where I do not deceive myself that I know everything. It's been a very strong challenge, because when you start talking on something, I am almost like 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of you. So I have to be struggling a lot to work on myself, because if somebody is saying something and you always, maybe you already know 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of that person, you need to control yourself. Otherwise, you project that you are trying to actually shut the other person down. I've had to struggle with this a lot, but thank God now that God is helping me seriously, and I've learned to wash my hand properly with elders, especially because no elder, whether in the community, in the family, in the professional world, there's no elder that is saying something, and when you try to talk and your talking is making them look like they don't know anything, you are just undermining yourself. So it's a lesson that I've had to learn, and I could remember also in this area, because this is me now, not just maybe professional or community or whatever. It's me now addressing myself. It was a real challenge for me. And I remember one of my mentors then, a lady, Mrs. Obi Igoda, when I was working in UAC years back. She called me up one day and she told me that, Demola, that I know you are smart, I know you are intelligent, but I wanted to learn a lesson. No matter how smart you are, nobody will call you to come and speak for your boss when your boss has matters, except maybe out some issues that are related. But when you have a matter, it's your boss they will call to clarify. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how smart you are, always have this understanding that whoever is ahead of you, give them that space. Let them be the organ. You can work with it. In fact, that's when I now read the book that you can lead from the subordinate position, it calmed my nerves down. I no longer struggle to prove that I know. Because a lot of us get ourselves into trouble when you want to prove that you know more than the person that is positionally ahead of you. Borrow sense. That's what I told myself. Borrow sense. Borrow sense. So borrow sense. If you keep projecting, so I had to really slow down and calm down a lot. Even if I know, even when I know that thing, I will let my superior express themselves without interjecting, without trying to prove to them that I'm already ahead of them. That's wisdom. So for whoever is listening now, borrow sense. Even when you know and where you know ahead of your superiors, calm yourself down and work with them. You can now find a way, a wisdom part of introducing those things that you know ahead of them. So that they, at times, I make it look like they are the ones actually bringing it in, whereas I injected it in a discussion. I say, okay, that's that. Before you know it now, you'll be on the good side, though. But if you always pitch yourself to always be the one that seems to know it all, you're going to get yourself. You have to learn that in the course of my interactions with people. It applies in the family, it applies in professional sphere, it applies in ministry, it applies in the community. If you are the one always talking in CDA meeting and it look as if you are the one that has all the idea outside of you, you better watch it and work on yourself. So that's a challenge that God has helped me. I'm still working on it because it's tough when you know a lot. But no matter how much you know, you don't know it all. So that's the dimension I said, let me drop this now before we hit the closing down button.
All right, see you out. Thank you so much, Professor Demola. Thank you. The dimension you went with, bringing out those challenges is not like the common way we go, but then there are still challenges that people face. So I'm really so grateful. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate what you have said tonight. God bless you so much. The Lord will continue to lift you higher and higher.
Amen.
All the other things you desire in life, the Lord will grant them to you in Jesus' name. God bless you.
Amen. Let me just quickly drop this not just I put there. I said, when you are in a falling state, it is not the final. People should understand that. When you are in a falling state, that's not the final state. So don't think it's over for you because a season may be over, but your life is not over. I also say that when down, it does not necessarily mean you are out. I have seen boxers, competition, one, they get knocked down, but they get up and win the tournament ultimately at the end of the day. So when you are that, you are out. So get back in the fight. Get back in the fight. Somebody get back in the fight. So I will just close on my side.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. I've really enjoyed. Just chatting with you. Today. Getting to know more about you, and I hope somebody at home has learned things from Professor Ademola Adedipe's life. That you fail does not mean you should remain on the ground. Please get up, dust yourself, look the distance that you still have ahead, look at the distance you have covered, and keep taking your journey in life. Spent 7 years in the university, yet today is a professor. Do you understand? So you don't even know where your life is going in the future. You don't even know how God has planned it to go for you in life. So why are you comparing yourself with somebody else? I tell you sincerely, if Professor Ademola Adedipe, if he was comparing himself with his mate that graduated 3 years ahead of him, maybe he won't even bother to finish from the university. He will just drop out and then remain a dropout in life. So please, no matter the challenge you are facing, that's not the end of your story. Keep pushing, keep pushing. And tomorrow you'll look back and say, wow, thank God that I did not give up. So if there's somebody out there that, you're going through some things and you feel like, oh, let me give up, please don't. If only you know that the effort you put into today, it will culminate into a great future for you. Then you won't stop pushing. All right. So I really appreciate all that. He's a pastor also. Pastor Prophet Ademola Adedipe has shared with us on Through It All today. I hope somebody out there has been blessed. Through It All happens every Thursday. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do. Watch past Through It All videos. I'm so sure you'll be so inspired and blessed. All right. So till I come your way next Thursday, stay blessed, stay strong. Don't give up, don't lose hope, don't compare yourself with anybody. Keep taking your own journey in life. God bless you. Bye.